Marcus Rowland is the Labor candidate for the seat of Albury. He joins us again on FlowFM. How are you going, Marcus?
Good, Ricky. Thank you so much for having us on again.
Not a problem. Look, our focus very much in Albury, apologies to the people down in the Albury city, is of course on the western part of the electorate, Urana, Oaklands, Corowa, Mulwala. What have you been experiencing out there on the campaign trail?
We've been experiencing a lot of people who are not being heard. So we've had a lot of people that we've been knocking on their doors for the first time ever, asking, what are your problems? What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? And so a lot of people don't even realise who our state representative is, which I think is a problem in itself. But on top of that, we've also got people that are struggling with roads, which is why I had Jenny Aitchison down in the electorate earlier this week, promoting over $15 million to go towards regional road repairs, which is an exciting announcement to make, especially for places like Corowa and Mulwala and Urana, that their shire is roughly 50% unsealed roads. So I think this is a really big announcement. So over $5 million for Federation Council to be fixing roads.
And I noticed we did have a lot of roads flooded, say, in the Lockhart Shire. At one stage, there was only one way to get through the electorate from north to south due to the flooding that occurred. Is that road repair program also going to cover the sealing of some of those roads, or is that going to be potentially a separate program?
At this stage, we're looking at repairing roads. So we'll be giving the money to the council to be repairing those roads. So I'd hate to speak on Jenny's behalf on that point, but I can certainly look into it for you.
Well, and when it comes to the, I guess the labour shortages, not the shortage of a Labor MP representing them. Getting staff has been difficult all across the regional Australia and the nation, in fact. But when it comes to those shortages, they're being most acutely felt in the healthcare sector. How are we progressing in terms of finding ways to make sure we've got doctors, nurses, and other health professionals to help our local communities?
Well, in terms of nurses, Ricky, we've been speaking with the nurses and midwifery unions, and they're saying to us that they're still getting the same amount of people applying for uni for these incredible professions. The problem is once they finish their degree, they're realising that they're not getting paid what they're worth and they're being overworked. So we're seeing hundreds of thousands of people leave these careers because they're not being valued and they're not being paid correctly. So our Min's Labor government has already confirmed that we'd be removing the wage cap so that we can have an actual discussion on people like nurses, teachers, firefighters, paramedics, and discuss what their job is and then pay them accordingly so we can have those discussions. We've already announced that in a hospital for nurses, we would be limiting their work by implementing safe staffing levels of 1 to 3 in ED and midwifery services, 1 to 4 in the ward, and 1-on-1 in the ICU. So we've got a real plan to fix some of these shortages by not just saying that we're going to be bringing in another 1,200 nurses, which we will, or another 500 paramedics, which we will, but we're actually going to be looking at the heart of the problem as well.
Well, will you be looking at mandating ratios? I noticed across the border in Victoria, they've got a legally mandated requirement of patients to nurses. Is that something that the New South Wales Labor is considering?
Well, at the moment, we're looking at the safe staffing levels, so making sure that we are putting in those 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 1. And once we've seen how that goes, we'll then look down that track of the mandated ratios.
And when it comes to training of, I guess, those young people looking to enter careers in healthcare, is there anything Labor's offering to, I guess, encourage people to join that workforce?
Look, we've got some really exciting announcements. Starting next year, if elected, there'll be 2,000 health students selected a year if they apply for it to be given money to go off their HEC straight away. So it'll be $8,000 to $12,000 off their HEC debt once they leave their university studies. So we're really incentivising. We're going to take money off your HECs. We're going to be giving you a larger pay, and we're going to be implementing the safe staffing levels.
Yeah, and it's an interesting proposition you make there when you consider that the Nursing and Midwifery Association that you referenced earlier have started a lawsuit against the government because of those very sort of pay and conditions situation that you were talking about. Yeah,
and look, we think that we've got the right plan. We've been speaking with the unions, which have started that lawsuit, and we think that together we've come up with a great plan of attack. and that's what we plan on taking to the election.
Now, I noticed also as well during the election campaign, I think it was in Albury or one of the suburbs of it, Justin Clancy, I thought, made an announcement some public land was going to be made available by the state government to address housing needs in Albury. Is there anything Labor's proposing in the western part of the electorate for Urana and similar communities that we might be able to find some more housing availability in that part of Albury?
In terms of the Albury electorate, we're looking at more the rental side of the housing market. So we're looking at implementing the rental commissioner to make sure that renting is fair for both the landlord and the renter. We're also looking at no-fault evictions. We're also looking at making it easier for pets to be available and getting rid of the secret bidding concept. So Labor does have a plan for social housing. We are implementing a $30 million trial on the South Coast, so not in Sydney, not in Western Sydney, but the South Coast, which is a little bit different for us, to see how that goes, and then implementing that concept throughout the state of making sure that 30% of all Crown land is used for social housing to increase the market with a lot of housing options.
Now, when you say 30% of Crown land is used, I imagine you mean when it's sold off, that it's not all Crown land. I mean, I presume you mean whenever it is handed over to developers, 30% of that is used for social housing. Is that what you mean?
It'll be 30% of surplus Crown land.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. So I guess you're saying, look, you'd look at address the housing shortage at the lower socioeconomic level in terms of renters and others, and then hopefully that alleviates supply issues for, say, professionals you're trying to attract or labourers into the area who can't find somewhere to live.
I think when you look at the fact that taking both Corowa and Albury alone, their numbers have plummeted. So we're not getting the amount of skilled workers coming out of TAFE in this region because the Liberal and National government have decimated our TAFEs. So we don't have the skilled workers in these regions at the moment, which is really crucial for the western part of this electorate, especially our farming communities, when they're not getting those skilled workers at the moment because we just don't have the facilities to train them.
Now we're talking with Marcus Rowland, who's the Labor candidate for the seat of Albury. Just wanted to finish off, Marcus, talking about the flooding that has impacted Corowa and Mulwala and other communities in the electorate. Has Labor put anything forward in terms of not just road repair, but more broadly about helping local communities? I think the Corowa Rutherglen Footy Club went into recess this year, unless I'm mistaken, because of the damage to their infrastructure.
Look, it's things that we've started looking into, but we'll have to make more announcements of that in the coming weeks.
Well, that is Marcus Rowland, your Labor candidate in the seat of Albury. Early voting starts on Saturday, the 18th of March, the big election day on the 25th of March. All the best, Marcus, and thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Ricky.